I think we'll start. I think that due to this slightly change in time, supposed to be at 5 o'clock, but this is brought forward at the 4 o'clock. Thank you very much for being with us today. I'm Chering Lama. I'm a country director of Childreach Nepal. It's a charity that works especially in education, health, childhood, and protection in Nepal, India, Tanzania, and got a project in Bangladesh, Morocco. And basically, it's the three key areas that we work. But today, I'm here to talk about an earthquake that has struck Nepal nearly last year. Today is exactly 320 days. Just before I go further, it has been wonderful to just listen to amazing speakers before me, and I love to see the the two of my youngest audience as well, which is great. As I'm going to talk more about the earthquake and what does it mean and how is it impacted on the education side of Nepal and how the Childreach has been proactive in terms of rebuilding the schools. You can come in the front as well, if it's too far away. So we can have more cozy type of discussions. And there's three key areas that I want to talk about today. Why education in emergency, number one. Number two is why there's a challenge in rebuilding the education system. Why it's never been a priority. And third is the consequences of not having schools in the villages. And as you have seen this picture at the behind, it's biggest stupa, one of the biggest Buddhist stupa in the world. And if you see the top part has been damaged because of the earthquake, but it's still the life still goes on. But after the earthquake, there's more than 10,000 people, or nearly 10,000 people been dead. It has been a big challenge for Nepal. And just after the earthquake, we not only faced with the challenge of dealing with the earthquake disaster, we also faced with the big political crisis, especially the southern part of Nepal, and blockade, the fuel, and none of the resources are coming in. That has been another biggest challenge for us. But having said that, as a small charity, that we took action on what we can do the best. It's as usual, being a Nepali myself, first thing that you always think about how we can help the best for our people, how we can keep them alive. And one of the best things that we ever learned was our motorbike volunteers. During the earthquake, it's not about giving them a relief straight away. It's about keeping the hope alive. Has been a big, big challenge. And then I just asked my colleagues, get on the motorbike, go as far as possible, and tell the people that you can reach them. And with that notion that they also done an assessment on what is needed. So due to that as well, that somehow that slide is going itself quite fast. So we distributed lots of relief materials, both and also the medical side as well, because this is something that we want to keep them alive. But the most important thing happened was about children. So best thing ever happened was, this is a story that I want to share with you, was we were in this camp, all our volunteers sitting under the tent. Early in the morning, these two girls came and asked our volunteer, can you teach us? And that was the moving moment. Can you teach us? And teaching them was not only keeping them safe in the safe space, but giving a parents to rebuild their life out of rubble, so they don't have to worry about it. I've got two of colleagues here from Nepal. We had hundreds of aftershocks. A couple of weeks ago, we had one as well. So due to that as well, how we can keep the children safe. So due to that as well, I'm sorry about this slide. We started with building a temporary learning centers with the tarpaulins and bamboos. But doing that was another eye-opening for us. What we have done is, let me keep you there. Sorry. It's not that what the children deserve, but what we have given to them. We have given them a gift, the tarpaulins and bamboos, which didn't last for long either. And it's interesting about the disaster. Actually, disaster never come alone. It comes in the whole package. During the day, we had an earthquake. In the late afternoon, we had the storms coming in. And it is kind of like the vulnerability has increased again and again. So this has been a wonderful safe space for children to come and enjoy, but is this a gift that we can give it to children? So due to that as well, that we built almost 100 temporary learning centers with signing a MOU with the government, but this is not what we want to give. And one of the things is Childreach and myself always been clear about it. Children or people might be poor, but our service shouldn't be poor. Biggest problem in the charity sectors is we always design the poor service to the poor people. And that is itself is a first recipe of failure. And it's always built for them, not for us. Due to that as well, that I just went back to the government. I said, I want you to approve me to build a proper structure, no matter how many students comes in. And this proper structure was, I consulted with Japanese. Who could be the better people to consult than a Japanese, because they live with the earthquake? I asked them, can you give us your prototype? Because you built the school several times in Japan, right? Your earthquake comes again and again. But we want to build this school as a center for community development. It's not only a school for children, it's an emergency shelter for the parents as well during disasters. And one of the things is what we have shared, everybody, during the earthquake, there was an emergency shelter for anybody in Nepal. There wasn't the building that we can trust. So due to that as well, we decided to go ahead and rebuild a far more better. And this is a building that, again, that everybody asks, it looks really good. I said, these children deserve far more better than what I had myself. I remember going to the school in the village. And today is a special moment as well, like all these teachers who come from the southern part of Nepal or other parts of Nepal to teach us in the mountain. Without them, I wouldn't be here talking with you guys and sharing my part of the story. But this school has been a big challenge for us. Now, yes, we got a prototype from the Japanese. Now, where are we going to get the materials from? We look for it. We have got another interesting, again, this, as a young global leader of World Economic Forum, has been a great resource for me, great connections. So we reach out to friends in India. They said, we'll print out for you. And now we also want to use the prefabricated. So all this wall or cement fiber board is a 50 years warranted. Not only the earthquake resistant, is a fire resistant as well. But inside there is a again the plywood, so it got insulation as well. So it's better than what they had before, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. Let's give a children far more better than what they had before, not worse than what they had. And this student as well is a wonderful opportunity for us. So we had a big challenge with the lack of fuel in the country. The blockade, we suffered a lot. And I'm sure that we have got a Santa ma'am here. She's a wonderful teacher. She runs one of the amazing schools in Nepal. I've got a colleague here as well who've been a part of this motorbike volunteers and also rescuing people. Everybody went to the basic when there was no oil coming in, no gas coming in. And the rebuilding was forgotten. The government is trying to negotiate with the Indian government and also with political parties was kind of causing a trouble. But the biggest problem we faced was child trafficking. It's the first time ever in my life that I found that traffickers are more organized than people like us. We wait for the meetings. We wait for the green signals. One thing I've learned was supply chain management from the traffickers. They've not only got a plan A, they've got a plan B, plan C, and plan D, how to get the people out of the villages. At the one point, they went to camp with the relief material, took all the notes, and basically next thing is they moved out. One of the schools that we've been working with, when we rebuild the schools, there used to be 270 students. And only the 70 students turned back. My question was, where are the rest? 3 weeks after the news came, 35 girls rescued from the border to India, 5 girls rescued from Mumbai. And how could they get there? And it's all because not the trafficker become smart. We didn't act on the right time. And this is something that we've faced now and again. So due to that as well, that we want to build this school as a center for community development, and good thing happened was government asked us to, why don't you hand over this first rebuild schools? So we built 20 of them, 20 classrooms. By April, we're building 100 of them. We've been very fortunate to have amazing supporters around the world. And the best thing ever happened was people always ask me, what is the best gift you ever got during the earthquake? Somebody ringing you and saying, are you okay? That always was the energy for me. Because I myself lived in the UK for 10 years, did my undergrad, master's, and PhD. This was my opportunity as well to give a gift back to the people that I've left behind. And this is something where I can use my knowledge into action. And while giving back was, as I told you that, whole village came back. Best thing happened was after we started rebuilding, first villagers ignored. Nobody comes here. Nothing gonna happen. And when we start rebuilding it, let me put up there. Rebuilding it, what happened was, interesting thing was, as the villagers have seen lots of people coming and going, for them was challenge who to trust. Everybody said, I'm here to help you. But what does that help mean? Everybody there to give without asking what is the real need. And that is the biggest questions during the disaster. But when we start rebuilding it, first thing that we talk to the headmasters. Headmasters is your school. You take the lead, we'll supply. At the one point we had to supply that all these materials for the rebuilding. We basically buy the petrol in the black market because we couldn't say tomorrow to our children, what if another girls get trafficked? If that was my own sister, what would I do? Even before the earthquake, there was a trafficking happening already. There was an estimate that almost 10 to 20,000 children been trafficked out of Nepal, especially girls. 4 years ago, we did this research in Sindupalchowk and Nuakot. There is a village, there's no girl age of 10 available in the village. Those who are under 9, they're in the hormonal tablets, so they can grow quickly. Though I've got all my education, but that really struck me was, why is this happening? Because we fail them systematically now and again. Because biggest encouragement for me at the time was reading through the research, and my colleagues who did the research was, there was 4 girls in their school, went to the same primary school 3 more years. So it was up to class grade 3. So they stayed in the grade 3 for 3 more years because they knew that if they're out of the school, either they need to get married, or they need to work in the field, or they're vulnerable of trafficking. And children knew that. But what we failed was we never upgraded the schools. As a school grows, or as the children grows, we need to upgrade the school as well. And systematically, we failed them now and again. And that was a kind of big shocking for me. And one of the things I want to share with you all is, I hope it comes back. Anyway, it's that what we have learned was, good. It's been a quite, this is something that we have decided to do, how to develop a school as a center for community development. Biggest problem with the government schools or public schools around the world, there's no sense of belongings. Because those people who make a policy, they send their children to private schools or somewhere else. And we always make a policy for the poor children or poor policies. If there's no sense of belongings, it doesn't grow. It doesn't improve. And one of the things is that what Childreach has done is how to create a school as a center for community development. Now, every school we build, there's a health center in it. So children don't have to stay back when they get sick. They can come to school. Not only that, when the parents get sick, they can bring their parents to the schools, and when they get treated, they can come to the schools. Furthermore, is what we also learned was The health workers in the villages is a very, very interesting part. Actually, those who have been remote and rural areas, health center is on one hill and school is the other hill. During the day, there's no people, no patients coming to the health center because they have to work. A majority of people in the villages are children or old people, or children are in the schools. But our health system works in quite a funny way that they opens at 11 o'clock and close at 2 o'clock. So it sounds like pretty much illegal to get sick before 11 o'clock and after 2 o'clock. But having a health center now within the school, the health worker's job is to teach health and hygiene as well. And it's also the value-adding educations. So we also introduced these 5 key skills for our children, because one of the things we all talk about, what's the value of education? What's the purpose of education? One of the biggest challenges we also found in Nepal and around the world as well, the transition between the village and city. When the children come from the village to city, they've got a certificate, but they don't have these skills, which is accessible for the children who goes in the city schools. And we call that survival skills. There's a 5 key skill that we introduced. One is computer skills. Either you like it or hate it, nowadays you need to have computer skills. Second is English language. Again, there's a basic that even they stay in the village or they go somewhere else, there's English language has been a key. Third one is first aid. And one of the best thing ever happened with first aid was, there was a very good case studies that we have done, was this mother sharing the story that because my daughter went to the school, that today she treated me when I had a bruise and cut because while I was working in the field. It's a value-added education that we're looking for. And 2 more things we also did was presentation skill and management skills. Either be a resource management or time management, basic thing that needed. And presentation is selling your own skills. All right? And this is something that we incorporate that as well. And the other thing is we all talk about the teacher educations, teacher training, and that has been a key focus of ours as well. And everybody today also, like speakers, talk about the teachers matters, and it does matters. Teachers are not only the 10 to 4 or 9 to 5 type of job. They are the social advocates. Through the children's eye, they can judge the parents and moms and dads' economic conditions. Through the children's way they dress up, they understand how the children has been at home. We also did a lot of research on the child abuse side of it. And one of the projects in India is saving a girl child, because lots of female feticides happens. And I was talking in the schools, the little girls, there's lots of people were there, especially children. I said, what does child abuse means? And the best answer I ever got was, something my heart says no. And I said, that should be the United Nations code for the child abuse. Something that my heart says no and I don't like it. And due to that as well, that we have constantly learning our skills to working with the children. That's why we have got a My School, My Voice, is giving the children a voice. And every proposal that comes through now, children approves it. The best thing ever happened was 5 girls asked us, like, can you help us to build a toilet in our school? 70% of the girls drop out in a teenage because there's no toilets. And I usually tell people as well, if the children got a right to eat, they've got a right to shit as well, but we never focus on the shitting part. And due to that as well, that how we can make a school as a center of community development. Now, not only the children come to the school, the whole community comes to the school. So we have also started that in the evening is an adult literacy class for the parents to come learn about the literacy and numeracy. My village where I'm from, called Helambu, is all destroyed by the earthquake. And yes, we have lost almost 9,000 people, and including my own aunt as well. And that was very difficult to share that feeling with my dad. When I got a phone call, I don't know how to tell my dad. He's got only one sister, and she passed away. And I said, Dad, I've got something to tell you. He said, yeah, who died? Because that was the moment. And on the television interview, I said, it's a wonderful opportunity for the young people like us to rebuild better. And I went home, and Dad said, I don't think the word opportunity, right opportunity, a good opportunity is something that you want to use. People who lost their life, who lost their loved ones, is not an opportunity for them. It's gone. So these are the things that we have learned a lot. The Childreach, as a small charity, we've never been an expert on disaster response, but because of ourselves that we need to act on it. So going further, this last slide that I want to show you, and I'll leave you with that as well. We are now rebuilding all these kind of 100 schools by 100 classrooms by April. But what we want to we have already engaged with the government. We have sent the comprehensive memorandum of understanding with the government. How we work with the government. Our job with the government is to set up the best practice. And I told the Nepal government, if you fail 12 million children. If I fail, we fail like 230,000 children that we work with. As a charity, our job is how to create the best practice, number one. How to create the model centers so that they can replicate. And third is how to create a new knowledge. That's where we want to focus on, and that's exactly what we're focusing as well. So we also work with the survivors who are trafficked and the survivor of trafficking. They go to door and tell people that the dangers of being trafficked. Because every time the people think that other side of the hill is a green. And that has been a big, big challenge for us. So we work with the survivors. We also work with local community about the livelihood project. How we can add the value to their life. That's the key questions. Who would be the better person to look after their children than parents? Why don't we keep the children until they're 18 in the schools with their parents? Due to that as well, that we launched this global campaign called Children Should Be Taught, Not Trafficked, in a partnership with this movie called Sold. If you got a chance, it's going to release in the April 1st in the US. It's probably the first movie that has got Nepali actors, Indian actors, and Hollywood actors. I call it Collywood, Bollywood, and Hollywood, because it's a global problem. As you know that child trafficking is one of the biggest trading business after the gun and the drugs, almost 135 billion worth of business. And for us, challenge is how we can keep the children in schools. And one thing we know is, through our research as well, if you keep the children in the school, they're 80% less likely to be trafficked. And I think what is the best solution for us, keeping children safe in the schools. And due to that as well, that we are doing our best. It has been a wonderful learning experience for us, but it has been a challenging. And I think, as everybody said earlier, I call it as a convictions. And the reason I do all those things with my colleagues and everybody, all these children deserve a 10% or even more better childhood than what I had myself. When I was a kid, my teachers were not trained, but these children should have a teacher trained. When I was a kid, I didn't have a proper buildings. These children should have a proper buildings. When I was a kid, there was no health center in the school. These children should have a health center in the schools. So do that as well. Either you call it calling, or I call it convictions. Thank you. So we have got a few more minutes left. I'm more than happy to answer the questions. Yeah. Sorry?
Very less people. What's the condition now in the areas you're working from the time when the earthquake was there and after these many months, and that the issues you faced where the borders were blocked and all? So what's the current situation?
It's been a few weeks that the blockade has opened. The fuel has started coming in. But the condition is still quite bad, because one of the things what happened in April, we have the earthquake. May, June, July is a monsoon, right? August, September, October, there's no fuel. November, December is a winter season. So it's been the condition has been worsened. One of the things that UNICEF also predicted that almost like six months ago, that if we don't deal this situation as soon as possible, 250,000 children won't survive the winter, because they are the children who is going to born. But having said that, for a challenge for us is that lots of money has been pledged. We've been very, very thankful to the world who said, we're here for you. But technically it was pretty good, but in terms of implementing, it's been challenging. So when there's money, that everybody start looking at the money rather than the project. So there's a bit of a government failure as well, because of the crisis. As partly is because there's no urgency, even in the donor community sometimes. And sometimes I feel bad about it, is like, is your house need to be demolished before you go and help somebody else? And this is something that I'm always trying to understand myself. So rebuilding will take, but I think rebuilding is not only the physical structure, the mental side is going to take even longer period of time. So due to that as well, we're running the counseling for the teachers and as well as the students, because everybody has been a victim of the disaster. So situation is getting better in terms of physical side, but I think the mental and emotional side, I think it will take quite a longer period of time for us.
Can you specify the physical area, the geographical area where your organization is working in?
We're working especially a place called Sindupalchowk, which is the worst hit, one of the worst hit district. Almost 3,500 people died there. 400 schools been demolished.
Can you name the area again, please?
I really wish that I can show. It's a northeast, a bit of northeastern side of Kathmandu, geographic-wise, and it's a quite mountain area as well.
How did you get like trained teachers, like for the schools that you built, like 20 schools that you all built? Mm-hmm. So how did you all recruit them from outside, or were they within with Nepal?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a very good question. One of the things is the government school system do have teachers. Either they're trained or not trained is a different story. But now is once the school is built, now we're reintroducing all our programs such as teacher training. So we already had one round of not teacher training in the methodological side of it, but counseling side of it, because they are traumatized as well. I do remember that one of the teacher, actually, a teacher that school that we're working, and you know this duck, dive, and hide methods when the earthquake happens? You hide under the tables. His wife and daughter ran out of the house. He took his son and hid under the bed. And the whole building collapsed and both of them died. So what we found, the first thing is we need to provide them a psychological counseling. So that part is done. So now we're running we also done a school improvement plan, how the teachers can get involved in the school improvement plan. Now third part, we're working on the teacher training as well. So we simultaneously train a teacher as well, because the government school does have teachers. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I just want to highlight my experience, just to add to what you have said. Just last week, I was on a visit to a school in Gorkha, which is the epicenter of the earthquake, where 3 primary schools had gotten together and started a high school 7 years ago. And they had built a wonderful building, so they had good facilities. And the teachers, because the government didn't give any secondary level teachers, they only gave teachers till primary, this school was always raising funds to have teachers for the secondary level. But they were doing that and getting excellent results. But when the earthquake came, their building, although wasn't that badly hurt, it got a red sticker saying that they cannot use it. So now the children, almost a year, like you said, have no school. They're out there and they all only have tarpaulin and just no space. And then they have rocks on the floor that's the flooring for them. But then when we looked at what they were doing, the teachers were really teaching and the students were really focused and studying. So it was just amazing. How much do you need to study well, and with what little can you do? So we went to see whether we could help the school, and really made us feel really good about wanting to support this school. And there are many, many examples such as this, and of course there are examples of schools which have a lot of resources but not using them well. But this one school was quite amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a wonderful comment.
Thank you for the presentation, and I'm very moved by all the situations that Nepal is currently facing. And well, this afternoon, the UNESCO, the DG, yes, Irina, talked about the situation in Syria and Middle East, about the lost generations because of the crisis. And I think the Nepal model can give the blueprints and manual for when the crisis occur, or how we can respond to the children, especially the child trafficking, how they can keep them safe in schools and so on. And my question that I have is, while I'm listening to your talk, today we hear a lot about the technology advancement, what are the 21st century's calibers, and what are the key things that we need to teach, what are the skills that we need to teach. But in your situation, what is the most things that you want to really focus on? Because you mentioned that this is a crisis, but this is also opportunity to upgrade. Something that you haven't experienced in previous generation. You want to give the best of the best education to your kids. So what are the education that you want to provide?
Thank you very much. That's a really good questions. It's one of the things is what we have seen globally as well. There's a big inequalities in education as well, and have-nots. One way we're facing like Nepal and all the crisis area, just access to school, the physical school, has been a challenge. Other side is we're talking about all this technological advanced. But one of the things is that how we're taking this forward is first we definitely need to have access for children to go to somewhere, number one. Number two, when the children are safe and in some place in locations, then we can reintroduce all the technology. And I think the technology is the future for us to overcome all the barriers. Even like teachers who are teaching in the remote areas, they don't have a professional development. And I usually call them, those teachers are suppressed, oppressed, and depressed group of people, and you ask them to provide the quality teacher. And that's never going to happen. So due to that as well, with the technology, not only kind of providing a kind of access for children to latest technology and latest education, but also for teachers, capacity building as well. Not only that, because that I said earlier that a health center introduced within the schools, we also can use a telemedicine system and take it from there as well. So the school gonna be help, and the technology is there to bridge the gap, which is we've been having this for a long, long period of time, country like Nepal and many other developing countries. So technology is the future for us as well. So I think with this, I think we're in the right time as well. Once again, thank you very much. Thanks a lot.